Welcome back to BROJO Online. Today I'm going to record a podcast that will also be a series of videos about what they failed to teach you in school. The next big thing they didn't teach you about in school, creating healthy relationships and dating skills. There's a longitudinal study that I'll post a link to that found that basically the best source of happiness in a person's life is to be in a happy, healthy relationship. So why aren't they teaching that at school? In fact, if I recall correctly, they didn't teach us shit about socializing in school. There was not a single lesson in high school or university that I at least was aware of that taught you how to interact with people in any helpful way. Now, relationships, dating, these are complex subjects, and a short video is not going to cover everything you need to know. But there are some principles where if you learn to live by them, you're giving yourself the best possible chances to create good friendships, to have a fulfilling sex life, to maybe find a partner or multiple partners that will satisfy you for the rest of your life. Here's what I've learned. Number one, probably the most important principle. Fill your calendar doing things that you love, and doing the most social version of them that you can think of. Doing the sports that you love, the hobbies that you love, the activities that you enjoy. Just fill your calendar with that stuff, and if possible, try to do it with other people. Don't try to date. Don't try to get a partner. This kind of behavior creates neediness, which only repels those things, including trying to make friends. Instead, just do what you love with other people who also love it. You're starting off with the highest possible chance of a connection because the two of you are into the same shit. There's a good chance that somewhere within that group of people that you're doing it with is a person who's really good for you. Next principle, start as honest as possible. Be prepared to let people hate you. Let them judge you. Let them think of you as weird and awkward. Whatever it is, all you're doing is just pushing away people who aren't right for you. This is nothing to be afraid of. Getting rejected by someone for who you really are is a good experience for you. It might not feel so good, but it means you're getting rid of someone who would have been bad to keep in your life. How can you think of that as a failure? So if you're honest about who you really are right up front, right out of the gate, with responsibility and courage and shamelessness, not, oh, poor me, I'm apologizing for who I am, but really just owning it and just giving it to people, you're only going to be left standing with the people who actually like you for who you really are, which means an effortless relationship. You don't have to do anything to earn their love or impress them. You could be at your worst and they're still going to think you're great. That's the kind of person you want to end up with, and honesty is going to do all that work for you. With honesty comes the next principle, which is reciprocation, 50-50. So a lot of people think honesty means you go and blurt out at somebody like they're a therapist. No, they need a turn to talk as well. You need to listen to them as well. So everything should be kind of 50-50, whether it's a single conversation, whether it's the household chores or the parenting or the money. Everything should be split and shared for a good connection with somebody. So make sure you're constantly assessing everything about your connections from an individual conversation through to the grand relationship. Is everything balanced? Doesn't mean you have to all be doing the same exact amount of everything, but it should feel fair and balanced overall. So you might not do most of the talking in a conversation, but you're both going to the same depth of honesty and you're both being as vulnerable as each other. And you might not wash the dishes, but you do the cooking. So it all kind of balances out. You've got to constantly think of this balance, because you might think you doing more is a good idea because it makes their life better, but all it does is push them away. You're oversharing while they're undersharing. It's going to end eventually. You have to respect yourself at all times. Nobody can stay in a loving connection with you if you disrespect yourself. Reciprocation is a great example of how to respect yourself and the other person. It's also a great way to make sure that you don't get stuck with someone who's using you or abusing you. If someone refuses to do their 50%, get rid of them. Another principle, never try to keep another person in your life. Don't try to get a partner or get a date or get sex. Instead, focus on promoting integrity for both of you, which might include breaking up if needed. But the priority should be we both live with integrity. If that works well together, then we'll stay together. But we're not actually going to try and stay together. We're just going to both be very honest and live by our values with each other, and if that works, great, and if it doesn't, that's okay too. But the effort to try to stay together usually just means a compromise of integrity, which is a death sentence for the relationship in the long run. Next tip is a seemingly simple one, but it seems like people really need to be taught this. Don't tolerate abuse. If somebody treats you poorly, leave them. Get them out of your life. Now, for those of you who've had shitty childhoods and so on, you've known nothing but abuse, you're going to be used to it and familiar with it and feel a kind of pull to keep it going. You're also going to think, well, this is just how things are. I challenge all of you to go and find the healthiest example of relationships that you can and observe them closely. And when you do, go, that's the minimum standard. If anyone treats me worse than what I'm seeing here, I'm going to leave them, whether it's a friend or a date or whatever. Nobody should make you feel bad about yourself. If they do, cut them out. Focus on becoming someone you're proud to be. Rather than trying to get someone, try to be someone that people would want to be with. And what I mean is not be fake in some seduction way to attract people, but be a person that you would want to recommend to other people. Be a valuable person. Best advice I got was be the kind of person you hope your daughter ends up with. Right? That's the advice I got about dating. This is before I had a daughter. Now I've got one that's even more meaningful. Be the kind of person you'd want your own child to bring home with them. That means you got to step up. You got to be this wonderful person that if your kid brought home a date, you're like, oh yes, sweet, you got a good one, right? So be that person. That doesn't mean being a nice guy, people pleaser, because actually you don't want your daughter to be with a person like who manipulates them and is needy and whiny and uses covert contracts and all that kind of stuff. No, you want somebody who you're going to feel that your daughter is safe with, who's honest with your daughter, who's responsible, who's bold, who's everything you need, and the father of your grandchildren, that kind of thing. Be that person. Ask for what you want directly and respond to requests honestly. Stop with the gameplay. You don't need to do that. I don't know why everyone does that. You don't need to. You don't need to be mysterious and indirect about everything. Just say, I want you, I want this, I want sex, I want to be with you. Whatever it is you want, just say that you want it. Without any sort of need to convince them into giving it to you. Just saying, I'm just putting it out there. If you want it, pick it up. If you don't, send it back. Right? And then when they tell you what they want, you don't have to say yes to everything. Consider each thing and go, yeah, I'll give you that, but I'm not giving you that. And just be upfront with them. They never have to figure out what you want, and they never have to worry that you're being dishonest about giving them what they want. They always know what your boundaries are. Compromise on preferences, but not on values. So you might go to her favourite place to eat rather than your favourite place to eat, but you won't eat unhealthy food just because she wants to. This kind of concept where, yeah, we can do some give and take as to our different preferences, what kind of music we listen to in the car. Maybe we'll do a 50-50 mix there, or maybe I'll go to the ballet with you even though I'm not really into it, but I want to spend time with you. These aren't major breaches of your integrity, right? That's fine. But if she wants you to lie for her, she wants you to disrespect your body for her, she wants you to be angry and blame other people like she does even though you don't really feel that that's true, whatever it is, don't ever compromise your values. It doesn't mean that you have to end every relationship where there's a values conflict. It just means you stand strong on values, but you're soft on preferences. If you're in a relationship, get a relationship therapist, a good one that you both like and you both feel benefits your relationship, even if you don't need it yet. In fact, especially before you need it. Think of it like a personal trainer. You're going to get the best out of your body if you have a trainer all the time, even if you know what you're doing. It's the same with a relationship. You're going to get the best out of your relationship if you have someone who comes in at least every couple of months to give you some feedback on how it's going, give you some tips to avoid some of the pitfalls so that something small doesn't become a big problem later on. And lastly, most ironically, ignore most dating advice and relationship advice out there. It's mostly crap. Okay? It's mostly from people who don't know what they're talking about, just spouting old gibberish that never made sense and never actually worked. It's usually just designed to sell some dating app or some bullshit like that. No. Find the healthiest relationships you can and ask those people, how do you guys do this? And you'll see that everything I've talked about in this video is probably correct.